What project is this called again?
It's called the Stephen Hawking's Project.
Okay.
And basically, it's been a project since they realized that he was a threat.
With Flat Earth, right?
Well, a threat to
FET.
national security, as they say.
Flat Earth City.
But because of his popularity, they couldn't kill him. And there was a project that goes back to the Second World War that Hitler was working on.
Anyway, I found this article on by Miles Mathis. Conspiracy theory: Stephen Hawking died and was replaced a long time ago. Well, I'm going to say NASA probably took him out and replaced him with an actor. Here's the real Stephen Hawking. Here's the one we see today, the actor that has replaced him. Okay? This is nuts. Okay, here's the article published April 17th, 2015. Stephen Hawking died and has been replaced. This should not surprise you too much, especially if you know something about ALS. ALS is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. We are told Hawking had ALS for over 52 years, which is a record by many decades. Oh gosh, this is just... The average survival time for ALS is 4 years. When Hawking was first diagnosed in '63, doctors gave him 2 years to live. Yeah, here we are 52 years later and counting. Should you believe it? Well, no, he says. Okay, so this is the real Stephen Hawking here. Notice the longish face and skinny neck. Also notice the dark brown hair. That doesn't give a date for this, but... Okay, here's the real Hawking again a few years later. He's got some messed up teeth, but no Twin Tower action going on that I can see. And his cheeks are very narrow. He's got a very taunt face structure. And his hair is turning gray, but not completely gray. Okay, now here he is, fully gray, and he's lost much of his lower teeth. Okay, the guy says he's not a dentist and he doesn't know what's going on here, but it looks like the teeth have been filed down or to stub filings for denture work. But anyway, here's the phony Hawking. Okay. And where's the gray? It's more blondish and a dirty blonde than gray, but yeah, and the teeth are completely different than that. Even the eyebrows have changed, apparently. So what he's saying, this is a replacement. They found a guy with the same nose and big ears, but otherwise they don't look that much alike. This is a guy that you have been looking at for the past 30 years, which means Hawking might not have written A Brief History of Time, which came out in 1988. So this is pretty big here. This guy has been faking, this guy has been faking this guy for over 30 years. Amazing that he's aged 20 years with a debilitating disease and got younger looking at the same time. Here he is in 2007 before he went on board the 0G plane. He was supposed to be 65 in 2007. Looks great for 65, eh? Unfortunately, he already looked older than that in 1982, 25 years earlier. See the problem here, people? Here he is in 2007 looking younger than he did in 1982. It just doesn't make any sense. And his face got shorter. Normally your face gets longer as you age. Here's a recent photo of this gentleman, the actor, with the Twin Tower action. Again, the teeth are the clue. This may be the same guy as our blonde imposter, but it certainly isn't Stephen Hawking. Go back to the earlier photos. Those 4 lower teeth were supposed to be gone decades ago, filed down to filling nubs. Are we supposed to believe they regrew? This is just bullshit, guys. They are making fun of us. Ridiculous. Twin Tower teeth.
Television. His physical appearance and the way he talked about big ideas in a witty and accessible way made him unforgettable, even though he had to use a student to interpret his failing speech.
You wouldn't see anything special if you passed inside the black hole. But once you pass a certain critical point, then you'd never be able to get out again, no matter how much rocket power you used.
Hi, this is Bud Patriot with Bible Prophecy Inspired. And what you just heard was Stephen Hawking's and a lot of gibberish, and his translator who understood every word of it, which to me is totally amazing and unbelievable, because there's no way that guy is going to understand every word that Stephen Hawking said as quick as he did. This was a pre-scripted thing, that he has a script. Look, we're being fooled by the government constantly. This is another one of their fraud hoax, whatever you want to call it. Stephen Hawking is a fraud. He's invented by the government. It's not like he can fight back. He can't do anything, so his free will is not his own. And the government uses him because they know if they make somebody look smart, they will trust him and listen to him and what he says about the universe and everything else. When the fact is, he probably does not know jack. He probably doesn't even have much of a brain functioning. So, and because when you deteriorate your body-wise and so on, so does your brain. Everything starts deteriorating. He's probably like a 2-year-old kid inside that body. But anyhow, if we had this kind of technology, don't you think we would be using it to question terrorists? I mean, instead of waterboarding, we could put this little black headband on him that he wears that supposedly reads his thoughts and then computes it to a computer which goes through the speaker and speaks for him. So, if we have that kind of technology, why are we not using it on terrorists? Why are we not, all companies aren't using it? I mean, FBI should be having them. Corporations could have them for lie detectors and they're being ripped off. Or even pre-hire. I mean, not to mention, let's face it, he would have to be a saint if that thing is reading his thoughts and he's not jabbering his head off. I mean, because you're always constantly thinking, right? I mean, your brain never really stops. It would never shut up, and it would be going off like crazy. Not to mention, and some of his thoughts may not be so pure. So, I don't know, I mean, that's like having a mind reading machine that doesn't exist. It's a fraud, it's a lie, it's something the government is using to fool us with and to make fools out of us with. You heard him talk, you can't understand him. The guy's freaking reading a script of what Stephen Hawking is saying, because if he can understand Stephen Hawking, then he can also understand baby gibberish and talk to babies. Anyhow, I just wanted to run that by. It's just, to me, is ridiculous that people don't ask questions anymore. I really never cared about the guy, and when I watched a documentary on him, I was thinking, why aren't they using this technology on terrorists, and why don't more people who can't talk that are like him have this technology? It seems to be he's the only one that has that kind, that advanced. Anyway, we should have them Wi-Fi by now, and they should be able to use them like a laser to point at people's head in airports and so on to pick up the terrorists and lock them up before they get on planes. This is just total bull BS, no doubt about it. We've been fooled. Stephen Hawking is a fraud, and the government has once again made fools out of whoever believed in Stephen Hawking. Okay, I never really did. I always thought it was crazy that they think this guy is an Einstein. That's like having a Siri built in. You can talk to your own phone now, and it does what it does. So, anyhow, you make up your own mind. Doesn't matter to me, but I'm saying he's a fraud. If we had this kind of technology, we would be using it everywhere, and nobody would be able to lie anymore. Have a good day.
For the first 5 or so years of my life, I didn't really get to know him as a person, just because I couldn't understand what he was saying. I knew he was my dad, but never really bonded with him at all. And I could actually start to speak to him when he got the voice box. We managed to build up a bit of a relationship from then on. You know, he'd take me to buy ice creams, and we'd play Monopoly together. It's just ironic that it was through the voice of someone else that enabled me to build up a relationship with him.
I'm your host, Peter Mansbridge. Tonight, science, mathematics, physics, a world the regular human being cannot grasp. So we lend our voices, our understanding to the geniuses of theoretical physics. Tonight, the BBC, in collaboration with its Canadian affiliate, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, release one of the most disturbing, controversial interviews in the CBC's archives. In Inside Weekly, a banned radio broadcast documentary that has been on the shelves for upwards to about 3 decades, we dig deep into the bowels and the annals of the CBC Corporation to bring you a scandalous, uncensored interview with the man behind Stephen Hawking's voice. The keyboardist, the man who types in every word and every sentence that the world's foremost theoretical physicists and specialists on outer space and its expansion, and what evokes a thought in his mind. How much of what you hear of Stephen Hawking is from Stephen Hawking? Well, tonight, the startling revelations will not only disturb you, but creep most people out as we take you into the mind of Stephen Hawking and those behind it.
Okay, so wait, start from the top. You're saying that so that you worked on what project?
I worked on Team A.
What's
Team
that?
A is the team that basically suppresses his thoughts, so it can't get through.
What project is this called again?
It's called the Stephen Hawking's Project.
Okay.
And basically, he's been a project since they realized that he was a threat.
With Flat Earth, right?
Well, a threat to
FET.
national security, as they say.
Flat Earth Civic.
But because of his popularity, they couldn't kill him. And there was a project that goes back to the Second World War that Hitler was working on. It was a project that basically you were able to control the mind and the speech of a person, and that person be completely paralyzed, unconscious. Except what happened in the project, that they couldn't get the person unconscious, the person would be conscious. Now, as they developed it after the Cold War, Stephen Hawking's became a threat. They decided to try this project on him, and it worked.
So they silenced him.
They silenced him without killing him.
Because he is moving still. He's got his eyelids are kind of flickering. His eyeballs are moving.
Yeah, they didn't want to kill him because they thought if they killed him, it would look bad, and that more theories would come out, and people would start to figure out things.
Okay.
So they figured by keeping him alive, but yet controlling his thoughts and his speech and everything he says, sort of misdirecting from what he was working on.
Well, they're not really controlling him. They just shut him down, and now they have a recording.
That's it. And basically what they're saying is keeping the national security theory alive and thriving it. Well,
so basically, let me, if I got this right, he was starting to uncover a massive conspiracy. He was starting to discover the possibility of flat Earth theory.
Yeah,
he started seeing the occult symbolism everywhere with the UN flag and all that.
Right.
And that's when he got pricked with that needle.
Well, that was just a temporary thing.
But he got mugged, he got the needle.
Now we have on a system which it pulses through his neurological system.
Yeah, well,
shuts down his regular thoughts and paralyzes him.
But the voice, you're just as much. You got him paralyzed, but you guys are writing what he's saying. We went through all this before, but before we get to that, just to state what you were doing, well, at first I was a neurological shutdown. I monitored a screen. And when I saw that his thoughts were getting through the system, I would stun him and shut him down. It's worse than air traffic controlling. Watching thoughts come out, I mean... And especially this guy, he's pretty smart. It's pretty stressful work. Like he was pretty smart. I mean, we all work for the Air Force. We're all at NASA. Whatever, neural connections. When you say thoughts, you're talking about neural connections. I want to move my elbow. I want to move my elbow. No, you don't. This is a guy that uses a few more percent of his brain than most people, right? Yeah. So you have to imagine that few percent and how much it's really worth. Imagine like the early programs that we had and sort of the shutdown was very difficult. We were like 15 and 20 guys. Trying to shut his thoughts down. That monitored screens that were... To shut down his thoughts. To shut down his thoughts. People. How does the machine interface with his brain to know what he's saying? How does that work? Like where do you plug that in? Well, how does that plug work? Well, it doesn't. It doesn't. So there is no plug. No. So you guys are just talking. So it's just you guys are talking. The only plug that we have in it is the plug to shut him down. So he can't talk. So he can't talk, can't move. Can't. So all the rest is you guys. You guys are doing all the talking. That's Team B. What they do is they control everything that sort of comes out, well, basically comes out of Stephen Hawking's. But that's a lot of top secret information we're not allowed to know. Crews of people come in, groups of different people, little whispers, guy starts writing, we hear it when you hear it. And yeah, I would say that the theories that are coming out of them now are more in the interest of national security, because that's what they want. Now it's one guy. It's one guy. So it's like one guy can do it. Down. I mean, the guy. How does he do that? He's got a button? Actually, no. I think there's 3 guys because it's on rotation 24 hours. Yeah. So what is it, like a button almost? Like it's down to a remote? No, it's a screen, and when it raises past a certain level, it's like it's going to get to a point where it might get out. So we keep them down there. Just by pushing a button, it lowers it. There's been one incident when the system was first developed, which is just based off the old system. Yeah. How many people you shut down? Right now? Well, there is others. There's new experiments now where we could have them actually walking and talking and not even be themselves at all. Unfortunately, the drugs in the system that we tried with Mr. Hawkins sort of crippled him. So he is crippled as a result of the drugs that he was given. And, you know, although he is more mobile than he appears, because we constantly have him drugged, we constantly have him stunned, we constantly have him shut down. But they do work his eyes, they do work certain things. You know, and
So it's basically a whole puppet, basically. It's like a puppet for NASA.
Exactly. We call him the puppet in the office. We do. We refer to ourselves as puppeteers. There's the core, which is 3 others. We call ourselves the 3 puppeteers.
Right, could you say that again? The team of writers?
The team of writers today aren't writers. They're typists. They type in what they're told. You get a file that says top secret for your eyes only. You got some security standing around you. You type in what you're reading off the file. You send. They grab the copy. They destroy it. That's it. That's all.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So there's no way of...
And then 3 or 4 days later, you're watching television and there's Stephen Hawkins, the documentary,
saying exact same thing.
saying everything I written in. Never a key, a USB key, never a disc, never that. Always a piece of paper in an envelope, top secret, delivered by security, standing behind me.
And you would retype
I
it?
open it up, I'm not allowed to read it. I have to put it down and just type what I read as I see it. And then it's taken away, send, and I don't know what the hell, when's this gonna happen?
So you have no way of knowing what you have no time to reread it while you're typing it?
No.
What was last
Even
time?
the episode of The Simpsons that he did, we had to write that. They gave us the script.
But was that really his voice in The Simpsons?
Yeah.
I heard it was
really
somebody
him.
imitating his voice.
No, it was him, actually, for sure. No, it's in the credits.
But he has ALS. It would never pass on TV. They wouldn't allow his real voice. He's just mumbling.
Well, it's not his real voice. It's the voice from the Simon Spell.
Or the...
Yeah.
From
And,
the
know,
software.
The technology of that kind of...
What's the software called? Simon Sez.
Simon Spell. It's voice back.
What did you say? You just said Simon Spell.
Simon Spell. Simon Sez. Simon. The game Simon. I spell.
The software is called Simon Spell.
Simon Spell. That's what we call it in the lab. But basically, it's that
It's
game
Simon
that you
Sez.
had as a kid. Spell. Car. C-A-R. That voice.
Oh, it's Simon
We took
Spell.
it from that voice.
Okay.
You know, because that was the only voice around at the time. And unfortunately, because of technological advancements and the fact that these crooners won't go realize, they think it's authentic to keep his voice the same way. Because if you change his voice now, it'll take people's mind off of what they believe he's saying because of what they believe he is.
So they thought like maybe mellowing out his voice and making it smoother, but then because the technology's there now, but they thought no, we'll stick with the old stuff because the people will freak out if that voice changes, if he gets a new voice. Because there is technology out now right now where you can have a much smoother delivery when you're talking. Like you don't have to talk, you could talk like a regular human being. There's like some pretty advanced voice recognition, spell and speak software programs out there. I've heard of them. You can get the voice of William Shatner. You could get the voice of
Well, that's
Clint
just,
Eastwood,
unfortunately,
Kevin Spacey. Many of these voices could be the voices coming out of that software program called Simon Spell.
But that's the whole idea on keeping it real. If we get too advanced with them now, people will start to figure out something that maybe we're just...
I don't think so. I think you could basically have a guest appearance speaking for Stephen Hawking, like special guest.
But then
like Kevin Spacey's
people will
voice
start
would be
putting it
lent
together.
to.
You put it together. That's why we're having this interview.
Kevin Spacey's voice would be lent to playing the voice of Stephen Hawking for one lecture.
No, that would break the belief.
Or would that be bad? Because then people just like, now it's really obvious you're just wheeling out a vegetable and then you're just playing anything.
Exactly. That's the problem with that. And that's the reason why we never changed his voice.
But isn't that what you're doing anyway?
No, we had meetings about this. Should we change his voice, evolve his voice, get a new software system?
Something hipper for the youth?
But then again, it would take away what we know as Stephen Hawking.
As Stephen Hawking.
what we created as the version of Stephen Hawking as we know it. If we change that voice, it would be like changing your voice. It's a familiar voice. It's familiarity. That's what it's all about.
Well, Venus is as far as you think.
The funny thing is, it's like some of the theories that he started out writing about, and some of these so-called smart scientists that backed him on it. And then when we did the changeover, the shutdown.
Yeah.
Well,
because you obviously aren't supposed to know this.
Well,
you don't need to.
I was in security, and I knew that we had to shut them down. And when you know they have to shut somebody down, it's for those reasons. And
so you were in security and you got transferred into memo type.
Well, I was in
memo
security, but I wasn't actually the frontline security guy. I was one of those back tech guys. But I still knew what was going on at all times. And I knew what this operation was. And this operation was shutting down completely, but yet create this new persona that we have full control of, that makes the believers still believe that it's really him. Oh, he just got a disease, now he talks through this system. Well, let me tell you about the system. It's a pretty big system, and it's very little him. It's no him, none of him. It's about probably
the greater voice.
180 people.
So the 180,
but over the course of the last 25 years, I would say thousands have worked on it.
So there's thousands of people speaking on behalf of Stephen Hawking.
No, thousands of people that worked on keeping him down. You know, a lot of physical.
How many people are the part of the voice team, the speaking, the writing?
Oh, that's at the high top. They're the ones that decide that. I've only been, like I said, a typist.
Top of what project?
The Stephen Hawking project.
Okay.
Which is all top secret on where they're from and what their agenda is. We just take orders.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew this whole thing was like some... Behind it was like a million strings pulling levies and cogs and coils. This thing is just a massive puppet show.
Yeah, it is. It really is, literally, like we call it. There is three guys that come in, give orders, a lot of whispering, very hard to talk to. We have to be very at ease or alert when they're around. We call them the three puppeteers, because really that's what they do. They come in and pull the strings. They come in with the envelopes, they come in with the scripts. Whenever he's doing an interview, the questions and the answers have to be put into the system, and then the answers have to be deleted just so we can get the timing right. So it's sort of like going through a song and playing both parts. You know, you can't just have him answer the questions. Even though his voice, that voice, very robotic, we still want to have a sense of rhythm and get it right, because people will pick up on that. There are some people out there that very audio
visual,
very audio, not visual, just they pick up on sounds and they see something might be wrong, and we didn't want to we don't want that to happen.
Why did you leave the organization?
Well, I just started to realize that what we were doing to a human being. You know, like this guy.
Leave the guy alone. Get him off that stuff. Let him live his life. Let him get out of that chair and walk and say what the heck he pleases. Like, this is disgusting. Like, stop with this. Stop wheeling him around and pretending that this is what he's thinking, and let the guy live his life.
You know, this guy's being shut down and tortured. He's in pain as he sits there. He's being sort of like, imagine like small doses of like high voltage going through your system.
Like, this is disgusting. Like, stop with this. Stop wheeling him around and pretending that this is what he's thinking, and let the guy live his life.
You know, like
stunning.
I started being stunned constantly. And it gives him that lively effect, but in actuality, he's going through a lot of pain as he sits there. His brain's being shut down, and yet he's trying to fight, because I've seen it. I've seen it on the screens, how his brain energy works, and it's extraordinary. But he's trying to fight to get his thoughts out, as we're suppressing him and controlling them and manipulating what he might be saying. Wow. So it's a huge battle, and I started to realize that
this is horrible.
This guy's a human being. I started to ask questions, and before I even got to a point of thinking, fuck, let this guy live.
And the government was paying. The government was paying for this. This is like many governments were paying for this. This is Britain, Canada, the U.S. We're all backing this.
Israel.
What?
Oh yeah, Israel's right in there.
Saudi Arabia as well.
Funny thing is, you know what's going on in the world isn't really what's going on in the world.
No, they're all together.
Yeah.
Like this particular example is proof.
You know, some people
they're all working to keep this guy going around, pushing the Royal Society and NASA and
Amnesty International has got like I don't know how many charges against Saudi Arabia. Yet you see every president shaking.
So you left because you just felt it was immoral, I guess. After a while,
I just thought it was.
You had a conscience.
I did, because a few times
I talked
where I've talked to him.
You talked to Stephen.
I talked to Stephen.
His real voice.
His real voice.
When?
2003. We were changing over the system, which has always been an issue. He seems to overcome the drugs, always.
You were talking to him once?
Yeah.
Like there was a moment of lucidity? How did that happen?
We took him off the system. He was sedated, but I went in to put him back on the system, and he was up. And
what do you mean up?
He was up and talking.
What do you mean, out of his chair?
Out of his chair.
What?
Trying to walk, but you know, give him time, and if he was off the drugs, he would have been able to.
So this whole time he's drugged, and then you caught him like without it, and he was walking. Or
amazingly, he should have still been sedated, but this guy, like I said, is very extraordinary, and the will and what we've done to him and doing to him.
So you actually saw him walk.
Yeah, I seen him walk. I've heard of other stories where he tried to run out of the room.
You not walk, like, just so that it's clear to the people listening to this thing. Not walk before. You saw him walk while he was paralyzed. He got up that week that he was off the system.
Off the medication. But I've heard stories where it took 3 guards to hold him down. He's trying to get up. I mean, early on.
So he was strong. He still is strong, but they have him down, right?
Well, I think he's just a very smart guy in his will at times. Even now, to this day, with the system that we have him on.
What did he say when he was trying to get up and they tried to put him, those 3 guards were trying to put him back down before you put him back?
I think it's, I want to go home. Let me go home.
Just let me live my life.
Yeah. Something like that. I remember hearing that. I remember that's the thought that started to make me think, what are we doing? You know, and then when you keep them down all the time and you just see a body there, you just sort of like forget. But then when I read the charts and I have to go back and do reports on what, you know, the system is letting out, even though there's a guy sitting there and realizes when it goes past a certain thing, you just hit a button. If it keeps going, you hit another button and everybody else will take care of it. Those same charts that I used to look on a screen and shut down with 20 other people. I started to realize this is inhumane. Why not let the guy go? Then when I started to question my superiors about it, wait away. Like I had to change my name. I was getting threats. I was being watched like I've never believed. And I know what security and surveillance is all about. That's what I do. I know when I'm being...
Yeah, you know when you're being watched, yeah.
Yeah.
So
and then in 2003, when he spoke to me, he said, "Why? Why are you doing this to me?"
He just.
Then he said, "I know why you're doing this to me." And then he said, "Don't play their game. You'll only be killed." And then, of course, a bunch of guards came in. I was removed from the room. Next time I saw him, he was sedated and back on the system. that's something I've been living with for these years. And when I started asking questions,
What was he working on? Like, well, what was he working on?
excuse me?
You're asking questions like, what was he working on? That was so sensitive.
Exactly. Then I started to do some research, and I realized that he was finding out some real information that was more truthful than what we all know and what we're told. Then I started to realize that the only reason why he was a national or security threat or an international security threat was because of what he knew.
So they took him down.
So they took him down.
Oh, is that right? I want to find out when he's going to be like speaking next. Booking Stephen Hawking. Here we go. Hi, you're a booking agent?
Correct.
I'm trying to figure out when is going to be the next, because I'm on the internet here and I'm trying to figure out when the next Stephen Hawking presentation or his upcoming speaking engagement will be in the United States. Are you exclusively Stephen Hawking?
Okay. No, we do not exclusively represent him.
Okay, because it says that, do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes, I know who you're talking about. But we're not tied down to anybody specifically. We represent event and meeting planners, so we're a buyer's agent, if you will.
Have you ever done a booking of his?
Let me double check for you.
Because it says you guys are like a booking agent, and I'm trying to find, for the life of me, I can't find any engagements. But I mean, I see the guy on TV every few months or few weeks, but I mean, it's just, I found it interesting that he's like such, I like to hear him talk.
Yeah, I understand. Some people just don't, take speaking engagements. So I'm not sure about that, but you would definitely, might want to reach out if he looks on any websites or any social media accounts that he might have.
Yeah, no, I don't see anything. But then it's like funny, he's on The Simpsons or he's like, on a late night talk show, but it's like, when can we see him like live, like talking?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I love to hear him speak.
Right, of course. Reach out if he has a website or any portal where you can...
Yeah, I went to his website and it just shows like his famous talks and under lectures, but like nothing like, I went to his website, it doesn't say where he's going to be appearing next or where you can buy tickets. So then I found you guys because you're at the top. And I was wondering, have you ever booked him?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever booked him?
We have not.
But you're representing to book, but you have access to book him.
More or less. We have people who reach out to us with an interest in somebody, and then we reach out. But we have connections with his office, but we have not.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Like, how much, let's say I wanted to book them. How much would it cost? Let's say we were to do something in Sacramento.
So we mainly look for private corporate events at universities or nonprofits, things like that. So if you had, your whole event laid out and could give me all those details, I would then.
Oh, it wouldn't be for private. It'd be we sell tickets. We do it at the.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't handle publicly ticketed events.
So you guys represent him, but you've never actually booked him.
We do not represent him.
No, but I mean, like you say you have access, and I'm online. I can see that I've got your number from a site that's got his face on your site. So, but you've never actually booked him for any private gigs, even though you have access. It's somebody you could book, but you've never actually booked them.
Possibly, yeah, correct. It's up to him if he would be interested in speaking. Sometimes people just aren't interested in, being in the speaker circuit.
But you got him there as a potential speaker that you could book. How many
We
people?
have him there because people request him.
And yet no request has ever been followed through.
We have never booked him, correct?
How many requests do you get to book them? Like, have you ever had anybody call you up and personally and say, "Hey, I'd like to book them," yourself, or?
Yes.
Oh, you have? Like a lot, or can you count them on your finger?
I don't know how many, sir.
Oh, so it's more than on your two fingers, 2 hands.
I couldn't give you a number.
But you do recall somebody like calling you to book them in the past.
Yes, we have had people interested. Are you
What was the
for a private corporate event?
Well, it depends. I could be interested in doing it for a private corporate event. I'm just trying to figure out like your outreach to them and what's the success rate, because I want to know who I'm going to call to book him for a private event, or see if we can organize or produce an event where he's going to be a guest speaker.
Okay, sir. Well, once you have those event details, I can pass it along to one of our agents here, and they can give you more specific information as to his availability and pricing.
Oh yeah. What do you think something
I
like
don't have
that?
that information.
Yeah. But you've had requests, but for some reason it never went through. What was the reason?
I don't know, sir.
How many people work for your company? Is it a big company?
Over 30.
Oh, you're over 30 people there. Okay. Are you the owner? Am I talking to somebody who's like one of the partners? Or?
No.
You're not. Okay, so you're just a booking agent.
Correct.
Okay. Well, yeah.
So once you have that information, feel free to reach back out. But right now, there's nothing that I can do for you.
Okay. Well, you got his picture on your site. I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, best of luck.
What the fuck is going on here? Yeah, I can't. Was it 1, 2, 3? I can't remember. They're using his face on his site, on their site. This is the oldest. Okay, I'm calling it Guinness. I'm calling it Guinness. Enough is enough.
If you are calling to inquire about setting or breaking a record, please register an account and submit an application on our website at www.guinnessworldrecords.com. This is the process to introduce your record proposal and receive the official guidelines. If you are calling regarding an existing record claim and have your claim ID number, please press 1.
Sorry, what's your name?
Hello?
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Sophia?
Sophia, hi. You guys are out of Brooklyn?
No, we're in the city. We're in New York.
Oh, you're in New York. Okay. Listen, I had a very interesting... Do you do records when somebody's beat the odds with a terminally ill disease that's life-threatening?
We usually don't, no.
Oh, usually don't. So you've never awarded somebody like the record for defying the odds of a very debilitating disease, like let's say they live till like they're 70 years old, but it's a disease you're usually dead at 30 or 40.
I mean, usually not, because there's no way to standardize that, because people react differently to diseases, and, you know, there's no way to make that standard level for everyone.
Okay.
So yeah, no, it wouldn't be something we recognize.
So you wouldn't have, because it seems to me like the Guinness Book of World Records is very specific and unique. It's not like, sometimes it's like it's a one-time situation, and then it's just that person. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay. Here's the what I'm going to propose, and it's kind of like a tribute to the person, and I think it'd be a great sort of event. It's the longest living ALS survivor. Do you know who that is?
No, not aware.
He's pretty well known. Take a guess.
Oh, it's Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking. He's got Lou Gehrig's disease, and he's outbeat Lou Gehrig himself. I find it fascinating. I mean, I'm surprised that nobody's given this guy a trophy, or what's his secret to youth or to health, to have ALS. So that's what I mean. I've been wanting to call you guys up for a while. I actually had some free time finally. I think this is momentous, and no one's bringing it up. No one's even discussing it. Don't you think?
I mean, I don't take care of that because I don't work with the records team. So if you want that option to be explored, you can.
How about this? Do you have like somebody's extension you could just transfer me? I'm gonna pitch it, and then I'll leave my number.
No, it would have to be via email through our inquiries inbox.
I have a feeling it's going to be ignored.
No, it won't, because like there's people managing that.
This is. I mean, you got a guy here who has all the knowledge about our universe in his head. And he's also like the longest living ALS survivor. I think this is incredible.
Yeah, so if that's how you feel, then you can send an email to our inquiries inbox.
How do you feel about that? Do you think they would do something?
I mean, I'm in no position to discuss that right now.
Well, what do you, but are you waiting for the guy to die before you would, because I know when he dies, he's on record as being the world record holder ALS survivor.
I am in no way control of that. That's why I'm encouraging you to email us@guinnessworldrecords.com, and someone will get back to you.
By phone or by email?
By email.
Because I know that the minute he dies, you guys are putting it in the record books. I know it.
Okay. I don't control what goes in the book either, so I can't guarantee that or not.
Well, I think we should do it while he's alive. And then also find out what his eating habits are, what his secret is. So the other ALS people, like children and young adults, can also maybe do the same dietary regime that he's on.
Okay, then you can send an email.
Yeah, I'm going to write all this out. Is there anybody in particular that I should address this to that you know would be really...
It goes to a group of people that respond to inquiries collectively, so I can't point out someone.
It is fascinating what I just said, isn't it?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. I guess you get all sorts of strange calls every day, but I think this one is just right in your face.
I mean, I work in the press department, so not many of my calls are strange. They're mostly media related, so that's why I'm encouraging you to send it to the inquiry team.
I will.
We're usually record inquiries, though.
How about this, though? Do me a favor and just bring it up at the water cooler. Just, talk amongst yourselves. I want to,
We don't have water coolers, but
your latte, your espresso machine. Just plant the seed, because I'm going to send this email out. This is momentous. Okay.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.